After the traditional short time trial to determine starting positions, it was an early morning start for the competitors in the four-wheel car category, led away by Richard Carolyn in the lubrication equipment raceco. It wasn't long before drama struck, with pre-race favourites Pasi Kutsir and Richard Leak in their Castrol Toyota Hilux grinding to a halt in the dry riverbed. Fresh from a top 10 finish in the Castrol International Rally, it was a bitter blow for the veteran pair when they suffered a terminal gearbox problem. The body language said it all. Thick sand caused plenty of trouble, and there were class battles throughout the field. This is Rashid and Hazim Noble, sandwiched between the two Class E Toyota Hiluxes of Shumi van Vuren and Spani Kotze, and Niels Lemmer and Frans Skutter. While the Noble brothers and Van Vuren and Kotze had no trouble, Lemmer and Skutter had to revert to Plan B to get over the obstacle. The quad category has now had national championship status for 2 years and is growing in popularity. Out in front in this category was Western Transvaal Vickers van Deventer on a Yamaha, who'd opened up a commanding lead right from the start over Francois Smith. These machines demand exceptional skill, and it looks much easier than it really is. In the motorcycle category, a flying Darrell Curtis on the Pro Action AGA Panasonic KTM, fresh from a maiden national victory in the Bell Sugarbelt 400, moved into the lead soon after the start and looked intent on quickly grinding the opposition into the dust. The 250 championship class leader was being chased by Bloemfontein rider Graham McLachlan on his Lesotho office equipment Honda. Gavin Nimmo on a privately entered Kawasaki slotting into third place. Nimmo wasn't pushing as hard as Curtis or McLachlan, and sneaking up on him was Errol Dalton on the big Honda 500. The big machine had an advantage in the thick sand, but Dalton was still struggling with a shoulder injury. Behind Dalton, a group of riders that included Rian van Niekerk and Grant Bloomfield on 500 machines, and 200 class leader Henny Human was struggling in the thick sand. For Human in particular, it was tough going on the little 125cc Honda. In the car category, brothers Herman and Karl-Heinz Solwals in their Solwals Transport Raceco took the early lead. They are the reigning special vehicle champions, but were looking for their first win of the season. The Solwals brothers like nothing more than to set the early pace and let everyone else do the chasing. Behind them, a determined Api Reinicker and Robin Houghton in their Bangfin Toyota Land Cruiser tried to make up for lost time during the pre-race time trial when they had numerous punctures. They had to start 38th overall, but were now literally scything their way through the field. With Reinicker reveling in the conditions, the pair had worked their way into the top 10 and had moved ahead of their arch rivals, Cliff Barker and Mike Redden, in the Video Sport SVM Land Rover. While Reinicker and Houghton were flying where the surface was solid, further up the field, Nardus Alberts and Peter Mathieu were having a hard time holding off Bucks Carolyn. These two vehicles were now second and third overall respectively, but with an optional refuel point coming up, the pressure was on Alberts. Bucks Carolyn had decided to drive in their dust, since he had to concentrate on both driving and navigating in the single-seater raceco, and having someone to do the pathfinding for him was worth the discomfort. Bucks was scheduled to hand over the driving duties to his brother Richard. In the production vehicle category, the Video Sport SVM Range Rover of Arthur Abraham, making his desert race debut, and Stratford Vogt was just outside the top 10 and struggling with handling problems. With a tough day drawing to a close, Ulrich Murray was steadily working his way through the motorcycle field on his KTM. Behind Murray, a flying Brian Bontekoning was also still looking in fine trim on his Yamaha and was making a late charge. Section 1 took the competitors on a 562-kilometre route to Lepepe in southeastern Botswana for an overnight stop. And at the end of day 1, the Toyota 1000 Desert Race had claimed many of the early frontrunners. The first car across the finish line on day 1 was the V Motors Raceco at Frans Chepe, senior and junior. Special vehicles dominated the top 10, but in a tremendous performance, Api Reinicker and Robin Houghton were second across the line and led the production vehicle category. Errol Dalton was leading the motorcycle category by 15 minutes, while Vickers van Deventer was the leading quad racer with a gap of almost an hour over Francois Smith. Frans Chepek Senior and Junior led the field away on day 2 of one of the toughest Toyota 1000 desert races in the history of the event. Section 2 would take the survivors from Lepepe back to Gaborone, but as always, there would be a sting in the tail. With a comfortable lead in the production vehicle category, and with the Toyota 1000 counting double points towards the championship, Api Reinicker and Robin Houghton were out to consolidate an already strong position. The Solwals brothers, Herman and Karl-Heinz, needing no urging to go as fast as they could. They had plenty of ground to make up after running into a problem with their power steering system the previous day and losing a lot of time repairing it with borrowed spare parts from other teams. Cliff Barker and Mike Redden in their Land Rover also had a lot of ground to make up after suffering a string of punctures the previous day, and the reigning production vehicle champions were not only hoping that something would go wrong with the frontrunners, but were also trying to pick up as many championship points as possible. Having had a good, consistent drive in their race co on day one, Nardus Alberts and Peter Mathieu were looking at a good finish. But it was not to be, as they had to withdraw later in the race. Running in their dust and trying hard to make up for lost time due to various problems the previous day was Richard Carolyn in the lubrication equipment race co. Not having driven the previous day, Carolyn was having navigational problems, but on corrected time was right up with the leaders. Errol Dalton on his Honda was still comfortably leading the motorcycle category, despite a heavy fall shortly after the start, which, according to his own admission, cleared some cobwebs from his mind. Henny Tillman was still giving chase on the little 125cc Honda, but unless something untoward happened, didn't have much chance of catching Dalton. In the quad racer category, it was virtually all over bar the shouting. Paul Breckel was running in second place, more than an hour behind Vickers van Deventer. Behind Breckel came Gavin Nimmo, who's been a strong contender for 250 class honours throughout the race. Nimmo then dropped 8 minutes behind Graham McLaughlin after the organisers scrapped a section of the motorcycle route because of a mix-up over the positioning of a refuel point. The Toyota 1000 Desert Race produced its customary sting in the tail, with a gearbox problem slowing down Franz Čepek Sr. and Jr. Harpy Rennecup and Robin Houghton were now first on the road, despite having lost four-wheel drive. This forced them to ease their pace in order to score maximum points, which allowed Greg Harvey and Lionel Acton, having driven an impressive race, to come into contention. Behind the Harvey-Acton car, Richard Carolyn was also pushing hard, and the 1995 Toyota 1000 Desert Race was set for a grandstand finish. The Carolyn brothers won the special vehicle category from Harvey and Acton. Harvey Renneker and Robin Houghton took the production vehicle category, while Errol Dalton won in the motorcycle category. Vickers van Deventer walked the quad racing.